Welcome back, everybody. It is the Working Brother back at you with another talk. This time we've got Stanislav Krapivnik. How did I butcher that? Did I butcher that?
Pretty good. No, you didn't butcher it. I said, yeah, you got it pretty well. I went through a lot of military service, going from Private K to Lieutenant K to Captain K. Thank God I was a Captain Kangaroo, but...
Stanislav, you are a Russian citizen, right?
Yep.
And you are also a U.S. citizen, right?
Yep.
You're new here, so I gotta introduce you to the audience, and also remind everybody who might have stumbled upon this show that this is a comedy show. Nothing we say here has anything to do with reality. Now that that's out of the way,
reality has nothing to do with reality.
That is true. That is true. Unfortunately, these days. So yeah, you told me, or I presumed, that you were a tank commander, and you corrected me, and you pointed out that in fact you were.
I was an armor officer, so I commanded twice. I commanded a platoon of tanks, and I was a XO for a mechanized infantry company in Bosnia.
Oh, so you served in Bosnia?
Yeah, I spent time in Bosnia. I spent time in Macedonia, so I'm quite familiar.
With my neighborhood.
With those areas.
And when were you here?
I was in Macedonia in '96, and I was in Bosnia in most of '97.
All right. So the fun times.
yeah. I even commanded for about 2 months. I commanded because we had a rotation going. A small American base in beside the main Russian airborne headquarters in Ugljevik, which is in Srpska Republic.
Yeah. And how does your story go from being Russian in the American army to being Russian in Russia now? What drove you there?
And so far, not quite in the Russian army. Though I did wind up asking for it during the mobilization, but they so far said no. Got enough officers. Well, I moved to the U.S. when I was in '79, when I was 8. My parents moved. My late father was a dissident, so he was liberal. Then he got to the U.S., and in the 5 years it took him to get citizenship, he became a Republican. It was only further to the right from there. So, yeah, liberalism is great on paper. It's a little bit different in reality. And that was liberalism back in, the 80s. Not quite the shit show, clown show that rolls around the West these days. So, yeah, thanks. When Bill Maher is now a centrist and on the edge of being a conservative, and he hasn't changed, you kind of understand how far everything went sideways.
I got a meme on that subject, the left subject. What are your pronouns? Your country drone bombed my family.
Yeah, that's about the right of it. Yeah, I was applying for, this is before all this started, so I was doing some project management work and consulting work, and I remember I was applying for a project with a German company, and this is 2021 or maybe 2020, somewhere on there, and it was the first time I ran into choose your pronoun. Like, what the hell? And they had a whole list of pronouns. Christ's sakes.
Yeah, I saw
kiss my ass. In plural, they'll be kiss my arse.
I saw a post earlier today about Kamala's press team or something like that, and they had like the pronouns with who and who as pronouns. Shall we move on to Shall we move on to a little bit more serious jokes, like the Abrams in well, now Russia, but like I was gonna say Donbass 404 Ukraine, but now this is, by the way, B-roll from Red Effect. These are Abrams, and yeah, they've proven to be the Wunderwaffe that they always were, right?
Well, no, I do have to defend him a little bit. What you're seeing right there is a Abrams M1A2, which is the full computerized screens everywhere. It has the Chobane armor. It's got the new ones have the Triumph system, which is an anti-missile, anti-grenade system that they bought from the Israelis, because the U.S. stopped developing anything like that a long time ago, which is stupid. But okay, so that was the U.S. What they sent to Ukraine was the M1 junk with an upgraded 120 millimeter main gun, because the original M1 came out in 1979, 1980 went into serial production, and in 1986 it was the M1A1. So what the M1's got, it's got a 105 millimeter main gun and it's got steel armor. So when it came out, it was already deficient. It couldn't handle a T-72. So they upgraded the main gun to a 120, Mike, and they stole, they swiped the British Chobane armor, because the British weren't selling it to anybody. But, you know, when you're a vassal, you say, thank you, can I have another, when your owner smacks you and steals whatever you had in your pocket. So the U.S. government got its hands on Chobane armor, which is named after the village near the base where it was developed. So it's got the multi-layered armor, including depleted uranium. Those tanks haven't been sent. So the Ukrainians got the old junk, the old junk.
I heard in one of these videos, I think it's this exact video that I was playing in the background, that like basically that they down-spec'd the armor packages on the Abrams that they sent. Like they were SEP-2s or whatever, but the armor package has had the elements removed, and it's like UKR, as in Ukrainian level armor. It's not like any of the classic ones that are even the SA, the ones that are sent to Saudi Arabia. Like it's below that level of armor, supposedly.
Yeah, it's called an M1. It's just steel grade. They had a couple burned out ones they brought into Park Patriot in the middle of Moscow, so I went to see it.
Oh, that's right. You must have seen them in person. How was that? How was that as an experience, like having been a commander? Or sorry, what is the technical term? I keep forgetting it.
I was a platoon leader. So I mean, I commanded my own tank, obviously, and I commanded 3 other tanks.
Yeah. And what's the experience like seeing it on the other end?
Yeah, I couldn't climb on it. I got up to it in different portions because there was just a gigantic crowd of people. They all wanted to see the Wunderwaffen. The Leopard 2 Wunderwaffen, the Abrams Wunderwaffen. Well, it's an Abrams M1. I mean, it's steel armor. So it's easy enough to punch through. Doesn't take much. So they're just basically, considering today's technology level, they're giving them 40-year-old death machines. But I'll tell you another one. This was a caveat. I went to Park Patriot. I'm sorry, it was Victory Park that they were at. But there's also Park Patriot that's outside of Moscow. And they got a museum of these trophies. And I saw something that I'd only seen on videos, old videos, and books. It was called a Saxon. If you're not familiar with what a Saxon is, it's what the Brits were scurrying around all over their African colonies, trying to keep them down in the 1950s. It's an ugly-ass little car, armored car. But they sent a bunch of these to the Ukrainians. I mean, these things are friggin', they're 1950s make, so they're 70-year-old cars, right? Uncomfortable, ugly as hell look. I don't know who the hell the designer was. Because just look it up in a book, and inside, I got to climb inside of one, so it's even less comfortable than it looks from the outside. But yeah, they sent them a whole bunch of these. So all the junk that you don't want to really chop up and spend the money to melt down, send it to Ukraine, and charge today's prices, of course.
Were you by any chance in Afghanistan?
No, I was supposed to go to Afghanistan. I wound up going to Republic of Georgia. fact, I was trolling the major who was in charge of the missions because I was in the 18th Airborne Corps Dragon Brigade, and I was doing at that point I was doing preparation for deployment exercises for units. We were going out there and checking how fast they were reacting, how well they had their paperwork in. So I had a couple sergeants with me, but I was bored out of my mind, and I wanted to get to Afghanistan. So I started trolling the major, leaving him messages, calling. I could never catch him. And then we go out to the pistol range, and I'm shooting. Just got done shooting. I'm walking, and this group of officers coming up. One of them's a major. I salute him. I'm a captain. And I look at his last name like, shit, you're the guy I've been trying to track. He looks at me. Next mission you're going, just leave me the hell alone. I'm like, thank you. That's all I wanted to hear. And it turned out, and I've been asking for Afghanistan, but the next mission turned out to be Georgia. They needed a Russian speaker. So I got volunteered for that. So I'm fine with that. I met my wife there.
Nice.
Went well enough.
The reason I ask is because the Taliban had a recent little parade with some leftovers. How do you feel about the Taliban having a parade with American leftovers?
Well, those Max Pros are only good if you're either doing anti-guerrilla, anti-partisan warfare, or if you're a SWAT team and you're getting ready to drive through somebody's wooden shack house, the way the American houses are built. On a real battlefield, those Max Pros are death ride. 100% guaranteed death ride. They're not armored enough. They're 4 meters tall. I mean, you got this friggin' barn on wheels coming at you. And when it rains in Ukraine and that ground gets way wet, they just sink right to the bottom, right? It was a nice video I was watching where they had a couple of tractors trying to pull one of these idiot things out.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get it out. It just settled. 4 points of contact went right through that mud, and it's belly down. But driving into combat in those things, I mean, you've got to be a doped up moron to get on one of those things in a combat field. I mean, the point of an infantry fighting vehicle is, and by the way, the Bradley is a shit vehicle too. It's got a good autocannon. Other than that, it's a shit vehicle. The whole point of an infantry fighting vehicle is to get the infantry to the fighting. And if you're and a Bradley's 3.6 meters tall, and these Max Pros are about 4 meters tall. I mean, yeah, kind of gets seen from a mile away, literally. 2 clicks out, and there's something rolling toward me. BMPs are low, and they're uncomfortable as hell. They're crushed in there, but they're low. They're survivable. That's the whole point, is get the guys up there, get them fast. And now that you've got drones, I mean, that makes everything 10 times worse.
I was going to get into that. We've got a bunch of videos for B-roll, but before we get into that, I just want to remind everybody that this channel is not eligible for monetization. So everybody can buy me a coffee. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can buy me a coffee. Links in the description. And also, I will leave links to Stanislav's YouTube channel. Do you have a Telegram?
Yeah, I got Telegram. I've got 2 Telegrams. I got a Russian language Telegram, Stas today обратно, and I've got an English Telegram. Stas was there, English language one. I've got Buy Me a Coffee too and Patreon, but I don't know if they'll ever release any of the money.
Yeah, I tried to send myself some of the money from my Buy Me a Coffee, and it never got here. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. But everybody who's bought me coffees, thank you. It kind of fuels the show, kind of. In any case, we've got a bunch of different videos here. I am not sure of the order that I've got them in. Oh yes, this is Battlefield. People who played the game Battlefield will know this is the new map, Kursk Offensive Battlefield. Gamer joke. So Abrams splattered with contact armor.
That's not American made.
It's contact
add-ons. Those are Ukrainian makeovers that they're adding on there. It makes it more survivable than the steel armored shit that they were given. But a couple things to understand about an Abrams and any of these main battle tanks, Russian tanks too. They weren't designed for this kind of war. They were designed for a maneuver war that was coming out of World War II. Where you got whole tank brigades, battalions, divisions, and armies moving through. So the infantry fighting vehicles are moving through, bringing up the infantry. The tanks are in the lead or supporting the infantry vehicles. You've got mass movement. No drones. So, the enemy, even when you're in maneuver warfare, enemy's got only a certain amount of time they can hit you with artillery before you're too close and you're whacking down. Here you've got individual tanks as basically mobile artillery or direct fire systems. You rarely have a large attack. There have been quite a few lately from the Russian side in the Donbass because the enemy's so weakened, they're just starting to push through with large amounts of armor. But for the most part, yeah, you got individual tanks, you got tons of drones, which is a pain. For right now, that's a pain in the ass. The drones will, the anti-drone electronic warfare is going up in quality, so eventually the drones are going to lose a lot of their edge. But for right now, shit, man. Yeah, you can't even go out to take a shit without worrying. I've been down to the front lines quite a few times, and you go out there, and one thing at night, damn, in the morning, you're going out there behind some house or some tree to take a shit, and you just gotta wonder, man, fuck, this is gonna be a horrible way to die if I'm got my pants down, I'm taking a dump, and somebody whacks me. It's just, ugh.
It's definitely a different level of warfare, different totally like different strategy, different everything going on with the drones, as you mentioned. Because here we can see with drone surveillance, and you have no idea basically how far away these drones are that are looking at you, and they could be anywhere in there. And we've seen that there's always multiple ones on the same target often, and it's like you say that the tanks have become basically sitting ducks,
Yep. So you get the tanks in. A lot of those tanks are firing from concealed positions when they're actually dug in and concealed. I saw one that was just genius level concealment. It's a Russian. It was a Russian. Christ, I can think of the Russian word. I can't think of a mortar team. There we go. It happens once in a while. It's a Russian mortar team with an 82 millimeter, and they're in a dugout. And they move they've got a cover that's on rollers. They pull in the cover, and on top of it is a lot of dirt with grass and bushes growing on there. Not just cut in place, but actually growing on there. They got about that much dirt. If you can see my hands, about 30 centimeters of dirt and rooted plants in there. And it looks just like the floor, the forest floor. They pull it out, shoot a couple rounds, pull it back in. And you're just looking at, forest line again.
Speaking of plants, it must be those shrubs, those secret shrubs that stopped the Ukrainian counteroffensive of last summer. And here we've got a satellite photo basically showing the level of growth, I guess we could say, right along the front line. This is all basically visible from space, which is insane.
Well, that area, especially Zaporizhia, those areas, they were actually desert. There were sand dunes in those areas. Mm-hmm. So ever since Tsarist Russia came into those areas, they started fighting the desert. And one of the ways you fight the deserts is you put lines of trees, right? So the tree lines will block a lot of the sand, and they freeze. Plus, the roots will fix the soil. And the Soviets expanded that program, and so on and so on. So you get a lot of tree lines, a lot of thick tree lines. They're maybe 100, 200 meters wide, and they'll go on for kilometers. And these are basically barriers to the sand to keep the ground moist, to keep the sun out. Because that area gets 40 degrees in the summer easy, 35, 40 degrees. And Americans look at it and go, "Oh, it's so far north," but the geography works differently on this side of the world. It's New York is on the same latitude as Rome.
How long have you actually been in Russia now?
Well, besides being born here, I came back. I left when I was 8. Came back in 2010 with the family. And before that, I was probably spending every third month in Russia, just but that was for work. I was running between different suppliers, setting up supplier bases for oil and gas services company. I was working for Cameron at that point. No big secret.
Working for who?
Cameron International.
Don't know who that is.
It's an oil and gas services company. It's now owned by Schlumberger. To that point, me and my metallurgist, so we go to see the owner of one of the plants that we're looking at to manufacture our parts. And it's early in the morning. We sit down, and this guy is looking at us, and we're trying to introduce ourselves, company Cameron and all that. And he's looking at us. He keeps looking at us like, and he's like, "Stop. You don't look like two Negroes." Like, what? But you're from Cameroon. No, weird. And you're looking at it. We're looking at him. Me and my miller's like, "What? Did you hit the bottle last night, or this morning, or still on?" Like, what the frick? You white guys. And then Sergey's blonder than I am. I'm like, "Yeah, we don't look like two Negroes." And those are his words. It's like, what? But you're from Cameroon. Oh, shit. We're from Cameron. Company called Cameron. I'm from Cameroon, Africa. Correct.
Details, man. Details.
Yeah, two African blondes are coming in speaking perfect Russian with you. Yeah, that's right. We're right out of Africa, man.
One can dream, right?
Cameroon, but,
how would you grade the British Challenger versus the Abrams?
Well, I'll say this for the Challenger legend. Up until Ukraine, they could say honestly that the only Challenger that ever died in battle was hit by another Challenger, and that was God honest truth. Well, it was. Of course, the fact that they were shooting up a battalion of Iraq's finest T-55s from a hold down position. Little details. There's to understand that how that went. That's kind of like a 22-year-old beating the crap out of a 70-something-year-old or an 80-year-old and going, "Yeah, baby, I'm the man." That's kind of on that level.
We've got B-roll here with commentary. Don't know who made this, but this is perfect.
Might look an inferno, but the harsh reality is that modern Western battle tanks are extremely difficult to destroy. The hull shape might look.
Yeah, I love the first videos of the first Leopard 2s burning. I had a British commentator who was literally saying, "Look, that's not a real fire. That's digitized fire on it."
Yeah.
Massive copium. I mean, we're talking like mountains of copium. You gotta have a big straw for that amount of copium.
Government grade, government issue copium. Meanwhile, in Russia, this is happening on like a constant basis. These are T-80 BVMs, I think, and they come with cope cages ready installed from the factory nowadays. So, how, considering we're basically well into World War III, most of my guests would agree. Do you agree we're into World War III? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a hybrid war so far, but I don't think it's gonna be hybrid for very long. Especially with Israel and Iran, it definitely ain't gonna be hybrid after that one.
Yeah. So what I was getting at is the industrial capacity of Russia producing tanks versus, which has been shown over the last 2 years, versus the complete West. How would you comment on that?
Well, let's put it this way. One plant alone, Uralvagon Zavod, I've been to that plant, it produces more tanks than the entire NATO bloc.
You sound like a Russian propagandist. It's good to have you on.
Yeah, well, the truth hurts, and I'm all out of copium.
We discovered that a long time ago. We discovered that a long time ago here on Working Brother Talks, that like the truth is very close to Russian propaganda, often indistinguishable.
Very, the Russians are selling their tanks for $10,000. They're on bicycles heading back. All the stuff that, by the way, got a lot of American mercs over there initially and got them killed, because they thought they were going on safari, and they turned out that they were there may have been a safari, but they were definitely not the ones that were going hunting. That was all that crap came out early on, and they still repeat it, amazingly. I think Ukraine kills like 10 million Russian tanks a day. Oh no, that's soldiers, so about 3 million tanks, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. It's unbelievable, as you say, that even after 2 years of SMO or war or World War III or whatever you want to call it, people still fall for the same tropes. Here we've got another Wunderwaffe, Patriot, being destroyed, and these are the secondary explosions or letting off of its ammo. Wunderwaffe in Ukraine?
Yeah, Patriot. Patriot's got a little checkered background. We'll start with prequel to World War III. It's called Desert Storm. So I had a buddy of mine who was in the engineers, enlisted men at that point, and they were sleeping near a Patriot battery. He was remembering when a Scud, so a Scud is an R-11. I mean, these rockets are so friggin' old, they don't have a guidance system. They put a gyroscope on there and fuel them up about to where it needs to go to land in a city or a target, whatever. So it just runs till it runs out of fuel and falls. That's the whole guidance system. The gyroscope kind of keeps it on track, plus or minus 20 degrees. And they're flying ballistically. I mean, they're ballistic flight. I mean, it's steady, non-maneuver, same speed pattern. The best test item you could get. And he was saying, he was sleeping and he's listening how many of those Patriot missiles were being shot off to try to hit one Scud. And they're talking about 5-6 missiles. At that point, they were about $1 million a pop. Now they're like $5.5 million a pop. They've gotten better. I'll say that much. They've gotten better, but they're not enough. They're not enough to make an umbrella, because when you're setting up an anti-aircraft umbrella, so you're going to have multiple systems. You're going to have long range, you got medium range, you got short range, you have point blank. Point blank's a guy with a anti-aircraft rocket launcher on his shoulder. That's point blank, or something along those lines. Or a heavy machine gun that's putting flak into the air. Ukraine doesn't have that, and NATO doesn't have that. NATO, when you're bombing pissant little nations that can't even take out your old rockets, what the hell do you need to have an anti-aircraft for? They can't reach you. You bomb Syria day in and day out, but it's gotten a lot harder now. They bombed Iraq. Iraq couldn't really launch much back, so what the hell? The U.S. kind of stopped producing everything. Why bother?
Let's not forget Gaddafi.
Oh, yeah. Or Yugoslavia and a lot of other countries. You're hitting them from aircraft carriers. They can't hit you back. Screw it. Why spend the time and effort and the brain power and have to import some more Indians to work on your rocket system? Because you're graduated enough engineers yourself. Look it up. It's 21% of the American population is effectively illiterate. That was last year's statistics. It's insane.
For real? 21% of America is illiterate? 21%
is reading at third grade level or lower. It gets worse. 52% is reading at sixth grade level or lower. So they're not quite illiterate, but
yeah. They're functionally illiterate, basically.
21% is absolutely functionally illiterate. Mostly illiterate, not functional. Can't count, can't read. When I lived in the U.S., if I had the time, I was feeling mean, I'd just screw with the people at fast food, because they're pushing buttons, right? They can't count with a shit. So if something comes out like $2.14 and you give them 5, and they'll put the 5 in, and they'll tell them, oh, it's $2.86 back, right? And I'm waiting till they push it in. I go, oh, wait, I got 14 cents right here. And it's burnt out, man. It's like, where's the buttons for this? I don't know what to do. And those buttons, by the way, they don't write them. They actually, from what I never looked at them. But a friend of mine told me they now have pictures of the food because the people can't read, Big Mac.
Makes sense.
It's 6 letters, man. It's too big, man. Big Mac is way too much reading. So
it's emojis, man. We're evolving back into hieroglyphs. Bottom line.
Yeah. But yeah.
Did you see the Bundeswehr? Did you see the Bundeswehr? Yeah. For everybody who's not seen this.
Seit vergangenen Dienstag, dem 6. August, greifen ukrainische Streitkräfte auf 4 Achsen, wie hier dargestellt.
So for everybody who's out of the loop,
look at the actual map that they're showing you. That's almost all Kursk Oblast, and Kursk is all that the main town is way over there. So at the bottom right is and the river that goes there. That's the edge of the Kursk Oblast. Mm-hmm. So when you look at how much they actually have conquered out of Kursk Oblast, I mean that's not even 10% of one province. Because they always do that zoom in. And it's a huge amount of territory. They've taken 1 million different villages and hamlets and crossroads and shit shacks out back. And then you look at that and you go, yeah, you actually really haven't taken anything for the most part. That's kind of, yeah.
For everybody who's out of the loop, this is the German current army talking about entering Russia. Like their grandpappies did, or maybe even pappies.
Yeah. We're still digging up their grandpappies from mass burials.
Oh, speaking of people who want to emulate the no Germans, we've got U.S. General Ben Hodges here with some excellent advice. I want to get your take on this. Let's see what he has to say.
It's got to fix their recruiting system and get these fit, able-bodied men and women into uniform. They're going to have to increase production of ammunition and weapons in Ukraine. Some of these things are already happening, but it is possible when you're at war to increase production, even with Russian missiles raining down on your cities. I mean, think about what Germany did in 1944. The aircraft production for the Luftwaffe peaked in 1944. That's after more than 2 years of steady bombing by the Royal Air Force and the U.S. Army Air Corps.
I want to correct him a little bit. That he has what he meant by steady bombing is called fire bombing. That's when they come in 3 waves, and they do this for 3-4 days. The first wave drops heavy ordnance on there to blow up the buildings. The second wave drops white phosphorus bombs to get a firestorm going, and the third wave drops anti-personnel bombs to kill civilians running for their lives and any emergency crews. And they would do this. Everybody remembers Dresden. Dresden was the last city to be hit like this. Every city was hit like this. The Royal Air Force and the U.S. Air Force, it was part of the U.S. Army at that point, U.S. Army Air Force, murdered off 5 million German civilians. So, I'm sorry. I'm confusing them with facts. Which pales even to Japan, because in Japan the theory was every Japanese worker is a factory worker for the Japanese war machine, and every Japanese apartment is a mini factory. In like one fire raid on Tokyo, they burned 500,000 people.
Yeah. Little known facts of World War II. Yeah. You mentioned the firebombing. The firebombing of Dresden was 3,900 tons. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were 15,000 tons. London was bombed by the Nazis 20,000 tons total. And Gaza, since the beginning, has been bombed with 70,000 tons. 70,000 tons.
True. I'll add a little bit more to what I said before. I worked with this woman who worked in our division headquarters in Würzburg, and she was 8 years old when the war ended, and she was telling me that when I was we watched in Würzburg as Schweinfurt burned. Schweinfurt is 45 kilometers north of Würzburg, and there's a small mountain range in between. And the column of fire went up 5 kilometers into the air. He said, and 2 weeks later, they hit Würzburg. The only thing that was left of Würzburg was the castle on the hill, because they used that as a lighthouse, as an anchor point to figure out where the city was. Yeah, because the city was covered in smoke, and you couldn't see where the hell you were dropping bombs. For about 2-3 days, they burnt Würzburg to a cinder. I mean, nothing left but, and just to understand, any civilians stuck in the middle of that, they either burn up from the heat or they asphyxiate because all the oxygen gets sucked out. So that's what Hodges was talking about when the Germans, and she said an interesting thing, when the Soviet Air Force flew over us, we didn't run for our lives. They were going to go bomb a military post or some factory. When the Americans or the British flew, we ran for our lives. They came to exterminate us.
I don't know how to phrase this and make it funny and a joke and also get the point across. How many parallels do you see between the no-no Germans from the 40s, the current NATO regime, and the quote-unquote people in charge of the occupation of Gaza and, well, Palestine in general? Considering this is the 85% of school buildings have been damaged. It's not really a war against anything other than the people now in Gaza. And I mean, these are the same tactics that we've seen used in the Donbass, and we know that they have advisors from the, unsinkable aircraft carrier. So how would you put all this into perspective of World War III, end of the world, apocalypse, etc.?
The megalomaniac that is now in charge of a certain land, who says from the river to the sea, and in defense, that other group of people that are getting wiped out, the Palestinians, also said the same thing. The Hamas towards the other nationality. So that I don't take Hamas as anything more than a terrorist organization either. But the civilians there are being murdered. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, they're being murdered. So the maniac sitting on the other side of the border, who is no better than the maniacs on the other side, two groups of maniacs, is looking at expanding that little configuration to the entire Middle East. Well, what can I say? It's going to be a shit show, and if it goes that way, there's absolutely nobody's walking out of that one, including the maniac that's getting ready to start all that. There's nobody walking out of that country either. I hope, it's not the first time they've had a nut job in power, but previously the U.S. has at least been the brake on any stupidity. With the Walking Dead and the minions in charge, these little yellow guys with multiple eyeballs are running all over DC. There's no break to keep the nut job from committing mass suicide, and it's like a death cult. I'm gonna take all of you. I'm probably gonna die too, but I'm gonna take all of you just because I've got nothing else to do. And if I don't, they'll put me in jail. My own people. So yeah, let's just do a mass suicide. Any other plans for the day?
That's basically what it boils down to. Unfortunately. We got to break it up with a little meme. IAEA looking for evidence of Ukrainian shelling of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. What do you have to say about nuclear terrorism and the fact that the Kursk incursion, other than maybe going for the oil pumping station, had its objective as going for the nuclear power plant. Like what?
I don't even know what the hell their objective was. It changes every day. First, they were going to try to negotiate that land for other land. Now they're going to set up a joint, or they're going to set up a governorship there on that area. Even though, they're still moving ahead in a few areas, but it's getting very incremental, and they're being pushed back in other areas. So they're basically running out of steam fully. And every day, the whole mission statement there changes. I guess Washington hasn't figured out what the hell they want. And haven't told Zelensky what to say yet. Or maybe he's got different script writers between Sullivan and whomever else. Newland's probably sitting there writing scripts between classes. It's a shit show. So obviously they have no idea where the hell they're going. They have no idea. They're going to conquer Russia. Yeah, okay. So they got 10% of Kursk. But from here to conquer Russia, there was a Far Side cartoon where this guy's doing a math formula. It's just gigantic equation. Everything's covered in equations. Plus, and in brackets, a miracle happens equals the answer.
Well, yeah, obviously, like Putin's gonna, like, didn't you know he's sick and he's gonna give up and he's losing power and the liberals are gonna take over Russia and you're gonna have a gay parade soon. You didn't hear?
Well,
in all 17 republics of former Russia.
And unfortunate to say, quite a few of those liberals ran away to Serbia. I don't know how the Serbs handle that.
Man, it's not. It's like it makes my blood boil every time I go outside and I hear Russian. That's all I have to tell you. Because like the people here, like the Serbs that I know here, many of them are like started to like hate Russians, and I'm just like, these are not Russians. These are not Russians. These are the like they're not even refugees. They're not even exiles. They're just like outcasts or like former Russians, second Russians.
They don't want to be Russians. We don't consider them Russians. And my friends in Georgia, Republic of Georgia, not the state of Georgia, they want to send them back, and I keep telling them we don't want them. Like, well, we don't want them either. Well, yeah,
it's not just that you don't want them. Apparently, it's going to be illegal for them to come back. Like there was talk about a law like that being passed.
Personally, I think there should be a military commission table at the border. You want to come back? Sign up.
They were doing at the beginning with the protesters. Huh? You want to protest? Come, protest at the front.
The best part was these idiots that were, they're young idiots, but they're idiots nonetheless. They were actually in Georgia and during these protests, they were burning their Russian passports. Like, all right, so you are in a foreign country that it's got good relations with Russia, more basically. But at this moment, there's still no embassy between them, so they can't replace your passport, right? You just burnt your only international recognized document. Cool. Have a nice life.
What can I say, man? The people who fall into this category are not, by default, are not the brightest ones of the bunch. So, like, yeah. I've got a little video here that you might have also seen. This is a guy headbutting a drone. In case you guys missed it, this guy. So I had to play this video for today. This guy headbutted the drone and then survived and walked away.
And he didn't just survive. He walked away, and he doesn't look hurt.
Yeah, that's one hell of a helmet. That's all I can say.
Between our helmets, our shovels, and our icons of the Lord Jesus Christ,
it's the shovels, man. It's the shovels. The shovels are the deadliest. I don't have any shovel memes handy though. Let's see.
We got those shovels in all kinds of calibers. We've got them in massive calibers, hypersonic shovels.
Let's see. Yes, I wanted to get your take on this map. This was posted by let's call them MI6 for argument's sake. So this is the bridge crossing here that was struck with HIMARS the other day, and it basically cuts off, I think the Post said somewhere between 5 to 800 Russian troops or something like that in this area, with no easy way to get back. How do you feel this can affect developments on the ground? Do you think it's the end of the line, or for these people here? I mean, the soldiers.
No, they're well dug in. What they're not mentioning is they've been beating off. Okay, that's probably a bad choice of words.
Repelling.
They've been repulsing. The repulsive combatants coming across from two directions. There's still lines of communications plus pontoon boats and pontoon bridges that can be set up. Most of that area, again, that's not something there. If you look to the right of that of the river, that's still Russian-controlled area, so there's ways around it. Yeah, it makes logistics harder, obviously. And it all depends on how hard Ukraine can push. And in that direction, Ukraine has not been successful. That's the direction that it's moving forward has stopped. And what the Ukrainians were doing was they were using mobile columns, flying columns, which is basically flying columns came around when you had dragoons. So you had infantry on horses that would just ride out somewhere quickly, very quickly, pop up in the enemy rear and set up a block post. And they were doing this basically reconnaissance and force missions. They were going out far from the front line and causing chaos and maybe setting up choke points. The problem is the last couple of reconnaissance and force missions like that they set out, like the last half a dozen, they all got killed. So no glory, no guts, no glory. Well, they definitely got de-gutted. Quite a few of them got deheaded. So yeah, things got a little hard for them. And yeah, at most, it'll probably be a logistics nightmare for a while. It all depends on how fast they get pushed back. If they come with enough force, that area may have to be evacuated. But again, difference here is terrain can be taken back. You can't take back your troops when they're rotting in the sun. And Ukraine's troops are getting rotted in the sun. And man, that's hot down there. They blowed up pretty damn quick. In fact, they blowed up in a couple of days right there, Ron. They're just like a big fat pig. You put a pig down and you put it out in the sun, it blows up right quick, right good. And Ukrainians, they blow it up just as good.
Where in the U.S. are you from, by the way, originally?
Where? Say what?
Where in the U.S. are you from?
Well, I'm from Lugansk originally, from the city of Lugansk.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I was born there, but I lived in the U.S. Well, probably half my life in the U.S. I lived in North Carolina. Last 4 years I lived in Texas. And I've lived in other places too, you know. Plus,
no, because you were adding a twang to your accent. So I was curious as to like to locate where the twang was from. But Texas.
What's a proper North Carolinian accent? That's a proper North Carolinian accent. First and last to die in the Civil War, or better yet, the War of Northern Aggression, the Second American Revolution. That's right. Damn Yankees! They came around with that red bastard Abe. We'll get him back again. We'll get the South back on his feet.
What's your take on the coming monkeypox?
Well, let's see. Trump will probably get arrested on the 18th of September by the nonpartisan judge in New York City. Yeah. And then if there's any protests, and there will be, wow, it's amazing how those virus outbreaks happen right around American elections.
You Russian conspiracy theorist. You Russian conspiracy theorist.
I'm otherwise known as the 3 months out guy. You know, You want to know what's going to happen in 3 months.
Yeah,
Let me tell you.
You're just a little bit ahead of the curve, huh?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the Olympics?
Oh God, yeah. The best news I heard from the Olympics was when the Mocha guys said they lost $2 billion on the Olympics. It must have been the breakdancing that they just didn't get quite the amount of sponsorship. They lost $2 billion.
I don't know about this.
And the shit Olympics may never recover.
That's hilarious. The last bit of news, because we're touching upon the 1 hour mark, and I know you've got to go soon. So I've got a little video here of everyone's favorite Chechen in everyone's favorite Cybertruck, because it's the only Cybertruck.
Dude. Oh, I like the addition on there.
Right? Apparently, he got one from Musk.
Oh, I knew Musk was on our side.
I wouldn't say he's on our side. Musk is suspicious, to say the least. I'm not a big fan of Musk.
I thanked Musk before because last time I was down in Zaporozhye, we delivered Starlinks, and I'd like to thank Mr. Musk for those Starlinks, the 2 Starlinks terminals we delivered. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Were these lost and found?
No, they're brand new. Brand new.
For real, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I'm not gonna say where they came from, but they were brand new pieces of equipment, uninitialized.
Yeah. Fell off a truck, as they say in Serbia.
Yeah.
All right. Stas or Stanislav, anything else you'd like to touch upon before we call this a recording?
Oh, geez, there's so many things we could just go on for the rest of our lives. The only thing I want to say is I want to do a shout out, and I feel the pain of those 4 guys at the Onion. I mean, I don't know how they survive because the real world is more ridiculous than anything they ever wrote.
That is pretty true. That is pretty true. Let's get some music here. Everyone who stuck around to the end, you know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe. Stas, thank you for making the time. Excellent. Everyone, peace out. See you soon.